Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today, and I've teased it enough. I can finally have enough time, thank God, to talk about Twilight Zone issue number 3 from the 2025 series. This issue is actually written and drawn, and it was such an improvement, by the way, by James Stokoe. And I enjoyed this so much, I would almost go back and reread it. This felt like real, actual Twilight Zone. Not really an atmosphere, to be honest with you. By the end of it does, and I would say that maybe on a reread, knowing what the ending will be, maybe it's better for that. Maybe it will be, even more so than it already was on the first read-through. But like with issue number 1, the atmosphere of that was so surreal like Twilight Zone, and that was what made that first issue so good, even though the ending was not the best and most satisfying. This, to me, most of the story is kind of bland, and then you get to the finale, and it's just too good. It's too good. This overall felt so much like a great, real Rod Serling type of issue. If Rod Serling was writing Twilight Zone comics, this is what I think he would do with the 20 or so pages that he would have available to him. James Stokoe, doing both art and writing here, killed it. Absolutely killed it, dude. If you're going to read any of these issues, issue number 1's a little flaky, issue 2's terrible, this is great. I loved this. It's not perfect. Like I said, it's a little slow, it's a little talky, which is okay because they have 20 pages to tell a story. There are no multi-issue arcs. This doesn't even need multiple issues. This was so good it could be a great standalone. And you see this problem with a lot of Twilight Zone media. It's why I'm a little nervous about ever trying out the 80s series. The Twilight Zone movie is like the closest thing to a not Rod Serling involved Twilight Zone project that was actually any good, at least from memory. I haven't seen it in a while. But anything else that I try to touch, I've read, I didn't even bring this up in my issue number 1 review when I was talking about some of my history with Twilight Zone. Not many things Twilight Zone related are very good, to be honest. Some of these short story collections, for example, I read one that had R.L. Stine in it. I never even made it to his story because it was so bad. I made it like 200 pages into that terrible-ass book, and we're talking, there's a lot of Twilight Zone collections out there of short stories and novellas and whatever, and every time I try to pick one up, it is so awful that I can't even make it through it. I've never finished one, to be honest with you. One day I'll try, but I don't want to waste my time, you know what I mean? Rod Serling was the heart and soul and the genius of this series, just like Richard Matheson was, for example, one of the best sci-fi and TV writers and short story writers to ever live. The guy who gave us I Am Legend, for God's sake. Those two men especially really brought that whole franchise to life. And this feels like James Stokoe could have been there back in the day and done well with Serling. Based on this issue alone, that's what I would say. But anyway, so the art here reminds me so much of like Berserk, and if you love that, I think you'll love the art here. To get to the actual concept of the story, basically there's a jar at the beginning that we're looking at, and it's like, apparently from a long time ago when there was this big war, and we're going back into the past by our Rod Serling-esque narrator to see what that actual event was like. And there's a war between these two groups, big war, like kingdom war, and there's like the one guy that's the king of his whole team and whatever, and he's kind of pulling a siege on the other guy's land, who's kind of the leader of that land, but the guy that like the king is fighting against to try to take over their land, the guy that's basically being pummeled and held captive by this king and his men, keeps talking about how his group and his land of people will survive because they know the voice of God. And the king thinks that's kind of weird, and eventually they have a conversation leading them to this thing. By the way, the issue is called The Relic, which is fantastic for the title of or for what this general concept and ending of the story is. But the build up to the finale is so good. Like, there's this one thing that's here on the cover here. It's like a guy in armor that also has like an American flag draped over his back. I was worried going into this. Anytime I see an American flag in something that is typically associated with social commentary, I usually think it's going to be garbage, especially coming from IDW or the big two or anybody nowadays. Gotta tell you, I've been so impressed, and I forgot to mention this, how apolitical any of this stuff has been from the IDW Twilight Zone issues. It's so refreshing compared to the terrible-ass Jordan Peele series that I'm very, very thankful, is what I wanted to say. You may go into this issue nervous. You don't have to be. It's a really, really good ending that really doesn't have anything to do with politics. It's a very shocking thing, to be honest with you, what they do at the ending here. And I don't want to spoil it for you, so I won't. But if you're going to try any of these issues, go to this one. The voice of God thing, this kind of crazier, I don't even know what to call the guy. The guy that's basically being conquered by the king and his men, his whole land being killed and whatnot. This God that they're referring to, the twist on that is so interesting and unique. I would love to see a Twilight Zone episode one day, if we ever get a good show, to adapt this particular storyline. But the armor guy wearing the American flag is such a cool looking piece of imagery. I really, really like it. I think it's really unique for Twilight Zone and really unique for comics in general and what it stands for. And it makes me, again, want to go back and reread this to really pick up on what they're doing with this issue, or what James Stokoe, is doing with this issue. That's all I want to tell you. I know it's a super vague review. Maybe it would be better to go into spoilers. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. Maybe the people who aren't going to read these issues would like that more. I don't know. It would make the videos even longer because of my rambly ass. But let me know what you prefer on that. But this is an issue that I would love for people to go into knowing nothing. I think you'd love it. I really do. Whether you're a horror fan, a Twilight Zone fan, or just a good old-fashioned storytelling fan, this is appropriate and fits in with what Twilight Zone has always been back in the day, and what it's maintained to be all these years, despite bad show and bad episode over and over again. This is fantastic, and I think Rod Serling would have been proud of it. So anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. What's your favorite issue of the Twilight Zone series so far from IDW? This is hands down, out of the first 3 that I've read, this is hands down my favorite out of all 4, or 3 that I've read. This is so good, dude. I wish this had been issue 1 to try to trick everybody into reading the next couple of issues, you know? But anyway, thank you guys. God bless you again. God bless James Stokoe. Let that man do more stuff like this, or more horror comics with, like, this kind of thing going for it. Yeah, God bless you guys. Catch you later, and goodbye.